Mexico's representative to UN Women says violence against women is a pandemic. Among those who agree, Adriana Quinones. She's an advisor to UN Women with a particular focus on the Americas and the Caribbean. I asked her who's to blame for violence against women in the region.
Well, I think to blame, first of all, is the traditional patterns, the cultural norms, discrimination, the fact that there's increased levels of impunity for all crimes committed against women and girls. These crimes are not, for example, in the case of femicide, these crimes are usually not well identified, not well researched and investigated, and end up in impunity. So a very big issue in this case is impunity. And I would like to also mention that there are all forms of violence against women happening every day. It's systemic, and it's happening in public spaces, in the household. Violence is increased in situations of armed conflict, of natural disasters. So we really are looking at a situation where it's not an isolated incident, but a systemic issue for women around the world.
Several studies have linked higher rates of violence against women in Mexico because of drug cartels, the drug war. How much of a factor is that?
Yes, I think it has been a factor, and this study that was supported by UN Women and produced with the collaboration of the National Institute of Women and the National Institute of Statistics are showing different trends in criminality in Mexico in different states. And so that's what's interesting, that it's demonstrating that for some years, there were peak years from 2008 to 2012, and then violence is starting to see a decrease from in 2012 and then in 2013 and then 2013, which I think responds to public policies addressing the firearms, small and light arms, but we're still seeing strong incidence of cases of killing of women by their intimate partners, and that's still something that needs to be addressed.
One of the things we've talked about in the past on our Insight segment is this machismo concept. How much of a factor is that, and how do you turn that around?
Yes, machismo is something that we have worked on in different ways, but I think there's more and more clarity on the things that work and the things that we can be advancing on. First of all is the positioning of women in positions of power, increased access to resources, to assets, to productive mechanisms, participation in government, participation in public sector, but also understanding better the different dynamics that take place within a relationship. There are some social norms, key social norms that need to be addressed. We have evidence now that, for example, men who are participating in the household chores and who are actively raising their children tend to be less violent. And so, for example, Chile passed legislation a few years ago supporting fathers to be taking care of their children, to be assisting the births of their children. And so all of these policies are having an effect on prevention of violence and changing societal norms and traditional norms that have really discriminated against women and girls. There's also ending child marriage, which is a very big issue in the region, but if we can protect girls for getting married at a very young age, we're going to be able to protect them from violence. We have a study, for example, that we did in Colombia on social tolerance against violence, and it shows that there was a decrease in the perception of people who thought that women deserved to be raped because of the way they were dressed. It decreased from 2009, where it was 59%, to 37% in 2014. So we're seeing that addressing specific norms, addressing specific beliefs can have an impact and can be addressing machismo along with the empowerment of women and girls in every position, fulfillment of their education, fulfillment of any opportunity that they want to pursue.
Adriana Quinones, thanks so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
If you like what you just saw, follow us on social media and visit our website, cctv-america.com.